Whoa! Oh my god! What have I done? Okay, I've listened to the speed of this. High torque motors, high speed, high torque motors, my derriere. They're talking through here. Tina G back in the workshop, and the new exhaust centerpiece has arrived. You may recall this original centerpiece is rattling like hell. There's something inside our middle box. I'm going to take it off and, out of curiosity, slice it open to see what that rattling was. Was it a bolt? Was it a lost 10mm spanner? Who knows? But we're on axle stands, up in the air, ready to go under and do what we got to do and mess with the exhaust again, but that's what it's all about. I do believe that this section will fit, but the end piece is the piece that would have fitted the back box that I modified to take the middle section that didn't have the non-scallop, non-socketed end. So the piece I put on had a socket this end, so I modified the back box. Now, if I'd have just had this box, I wouldn't have had to modify the back box. So, I've got to go back all the way around the houses. Looks like the brazer's going to be out. Anyway, we've got to do it because I cannot stand that rattling anymore. And also, while we're up in the air, we may as well do the bottom hose modification on the radiator. So, some fun to be getting on with. Underneath Tina G, here's our centre section. I'm crawling underneath with you, keeping it live and dangerous. Remember, we made extra effort to lovely paste up the join, and it was really nice and quiet, but this centre box is no good. And that's probably the reason why it's been hanging around. But I can tell you one thing, once this comes off, it's getting sliced and diced, and it's going to scrap. So I'll start by undoing the 13mm on all those saddle clamps, getting everything loose. I may slice this off, I don't know. The first job is to remove the back piece. We're going to try and get it on without too much hassle. Let's get right to it with the 13s. Lock and load. Spinning you around, lock and load, let's go. Okay, we're nearly off. It's actually easier to take that back bracket off there than it is to unhook the rubbers. I'm going under now. I nearly got it off, but it's hitting the axle. They always do. I'm going to go and chop it, just because I don't need part of it. I can chop it because it's getting scrapped. So I've got a reciprocating saw, and I'm going to slice out the little remaining piece just so I can get this back box off. So I'm going in and I'm going to slice out. Hold on, I'm going to need 2 hands for this. Going to need 2 hands for this kind of deal. Okay, all the exhaust pieces are off, and what I've got to do is I've got to go back to how I had this original back box before I modified it for the knackered middle section. So it originally had an inner fillet, or an inner piece of tubing about this long. Really, it's got to go back to this now, a female version. So I've chopped that off the middle section front piece, which happens to be the same diameter, so you can just put it, basically I'm putting it back to how that back section would originally have been. This piece goes on to the middle section like that, so those will mate together and it's the right length. So I've kept just a little bit of the extender tube that was on there to use as a fillet to help join this together with the brazier. So I'll slot that on there now and braze that back together, basically getting back to where it would have been. This is slightly crushed in with the U-bolt, so it makes it a little bit tight going onto there, but it does go. I've just sort of tapped it on, it will go. We'll have to wiggle that into position. So it's just one brazing job. If we can get a nice line of braze around this, that should be back to how it should be. It won't quite go all the way in like it would have done at the factory, because this tube will end up hitting that, but it never went in that far anyway. So as long as it gets to here and we can get the saddle clamp on, that should be it. So you would have then that system, which is female up at that end to the downpipe, male here and then a female to the back section. I'll go and braze that up now and we'll put it all back on the car. Okay, that is now brazed up. It's capillaried round, so we're good to go. Just wants the rough bits knocking off, but that braze travelled all the way around that inner fillet, so I'm confident that won't leak. We'll need a quick clean up now, folks, and then should slot onto there, and we should be back to where we was. We can get that on. I'm going to paint this. Just, it does hold out actually, the exhaust paint on middle section and the back, even down the downpipe. That exhaust paint does seem to last. It's only on the manifold it won't do it. So I'll clean this up as well. So we're getting ready to reassemble everything now. Okay, the exhaust is on the best I can get, everybody. Hopefully you can see that there. Center bracket there. Then you've got the front clip, front saddle clamp onto the downpipe to the middle section. Then you just have to twist, turn and lock and adjust. It is all very close. Everything's very close. They always are on Cortinas. Well known for rattling. It only just clears round the spare wheel well and the axle. I probably have not put this back to the exact spec, but it isn't touching anything from what I can see. I found it easier to undo the very last rear bracket and drop the whole bracket, then assemble it already pushed into the pig's nose, than to try and slot it into the pig's nose, if you will. But what I do, I just give it a bit of a tap to see, try and simulate as much engine. The closest I'm going to get to that, so I'm just going to move that away a little bit and then I'm done. But you will get that. So we'll now tighten up the brackets and pull that away, and that should be the last. There isn't anything hitting in the center, so it is hit and miss with these things. Exhaust on Cortinas, you've just got to get them just right, and of course with me having 3 different sections, all different manufacturers, I've had to cobble together the best that I can do with all 3 different pieces. Okay, so let's just pull that away from there, because that probably will, under engine misfire or maybe over a bump or something, that's going to just tap. But other than that, it's clear. Okay, so I'll finalize this, and let's get this back on the ground and see how it sounds. Back on the ground, see how it sounds. PC. Seems okay. Not blowing, and it ain't knocking. A little bit maybe, but that's not bad at all. That's not bad. So it looks like that's a success. It was a little bit awkward, to be fair. I think just probably about 5 mil too long on the back section where I brazed that piece in, but sounds good. Just about clears. If I grab it, I can make it knock, but I've cranked the engine, it doesn't knock. It takes some extreme, so we're okay. I think we'll accept that. We'll get a chrome tailpipe for that. That needs a nice chrome tailpipe. But wow, yeah, okay. I'm going to move on to the rocker cover. That's still got a leak, you can see. That's a bugger to fix. That's a tricky one. So yeah, exhaust done then. Whoa, what a mission that was. I'll move on to doing the lower hose now, everybody. Bit by bit we're getting there. Just keep bringing this car back to life. It's needed quite a lot. Amazing, as I said, how much happens when you leave them standing. But yeah, exhaust on. It's nice and tight. All the clamps line up. All the rubbers, the pig nose rubbers are engaged properly into the hooks. And you can wobble it with your hand, and only extreme wobble will make it touch, but only just at the back, which is because I've slightly modified that middle piece. If I'd have had a brand new back section as well, probably would have gone on a bit easier. Okay, power steering working good as well, and those clearances on the cam, I've done alright. I'm pretty pleased. Okay, on to part 2. That's the exhaust done. We need now also the ball joints at the front. They need replacing. I've noticed some split rubbers. I'm going to do the whole lot. Upper and lower ball joints on both sides as well. So tomorrow's job will be upper and lower ball joints, and I will do that bottom hose so it's clearing those belts. And then when the cam cover finally comes back from the powder coat, it's nearly 3 weeks. What a joke. Anyway, can't expect everything to go smoothly. You can only do what's in your power. So let's just give this a little road test and see how the exhaust sounds. Right, with the exhaust nice and secure, I ended up putting a new piggy nose on the end of that. It's really solid now. But the back box has got something rattling in it as well, so we're going to need a new back box too. If you don't want any rattling noises, I don't know, I think bits of braze are in that when I braze that tube on, but that's what you get, you learn. Anyway, you take her straight down, I take you straight down to ball joint operation. And I'm doing upper and lower ball joints, folks, on this little mission. These are squeaking and creaking, and indeed, I've got the old ones off now. They're coming into your screen in 2 seconds. Upper old and lower old, right in your screens there. Okay, so that one's got a split rub, although that could have happened when I struck it. They're both tired, especially the other side. I'm going to take you through the procedure on the other side. I've jumped right in on this side, but these two, they have to be done in pairs of 4, well, pairs, 2 pairs of 2, a pair of 2, sorry, all the 2s. So there's a variety of tools that I've been using for this, and I'll put that torch just on the hammer there. Look at that, magnetic on the hammer. That's off. That's off. To split them, you can use a ball joint splitter fork like this one. There are actually 2 types of fork. One's narrower. I'll name that tune in one. That's the one, the narrow one. This works on the bottom one, but it didn't work on the top one. Anyway, that's a silver line splitter, the narrow type. But the best tool to use is, if you join the Mk3 Owners Club, they can issue you with one of these for a very small fee. It's a ball joint splitter. How it works is it goes between the 2 ball joints, the upper and the lower ball joints. In your car, they are positioned like this in the wishbones. Let's take it over here for a bit of a better view. The ball joint splitter fits there. You unwind it and it pushes the ball joints apart. You've got to do them one at a time, and if the ball joint splitter doesn't work, if you're whacking your ball joint splitter in here to try and drop the top or the bottom ball joint and you're not getting anywhere, you can use this. If you're going to start using this, don't split any of them. Start straight away with this, because it requires pushing. If one's out, it won't be able to work. It requires them both being fixed, both ball joints being fixed, to get its force to push one against the other. You'll find one lower, the top will drop. Once it drops, you wind the nut a little bit more up on here, and the top one will also split. It works every time. There are some ball joints where you can't use it because they don't have a dimple in the top of the bolts. So you can see this one has got a dimple in the top of the stud, the taper stud, and it's that dimple that allows the little ball at the end of this splitting tool excuse me, to sit in. If it's just flat there, it's a little bit harder because this tool tends to try and wander away. I have seen some upper and lower ball joints where there is no hex key or Allen key slot. That's the slot that you use to lock the stud. If you also want to undo the nut, there's another way you can do it. You can lock your Allen key into the top of here instead of using the ball joint splitter. Well, no, actually, that's to undo the nut. The nut can spin because it'll just spin the ball joint, so you have to lock the threads. Quite often the threads are locked because of the taper fit and the stud is stuck anyway. Sometimes it breaks free and then you can't get the nut off, so you hold your Allen key in the middle, then you can undo the nut. You don't need to do that with the ball joint splitter, I don't think anyway. If you do, you just lock the nut. I got my nut here nearly off, then it began to spin, so I just used these grips like this to hold it the rest of the way. They worked. That's a good strong pair of jaw grips. These are 10 Tools ones. Anyway, the ball joint splitter breaks your upper and lower ball joints apart quite well. Then it's just a case of reassembling this. You've got on the lower one 4 bolts altogether. There's the tie rod and the stabilizer bar rod there. then you've got two holding it here. Top's just 3 fixings always. And then the hub I've just got to the side there, took the hub off. I'm doing the brake pads as well, so I may as well take the caliper off. So I took the caliper off to do the brake pads. May as well do them. There's halfway worn through. Well, you may as well have the chance to change your pads while you're at it. If that's coming off, may as well. So I'll reassemble this side and probably show you the ball joint splitter in action on the other side. But upper and lowers are a reasonably easy operation. It's not that difficult to do if you're set up for it. Axle stands on under the chassis so that the lower arm can drop down and the upper arm can pivot up. You can hear that we've got some squeak in there, so we're going to address that. That'll be one of the over the bump squeaks we've been getting, so that needs some lubrication on the top. So we'll lube everything up. I've put copper slip back on this. Not doing the shocks because they're okay, springs are okay, so we're just going to reassemble this section now. Excuse the gruff voice because I've just got up. Okay. And a little tip for you on reassembly: a jack just under the lower arm, then raise the jack up. That's to help you get your tie bar bolts through. You'll find when you drop this lower arm down, this pops off at a slight angle. It's happier sitting lined up. When you pump up just a bit of pressure on the lower arm and bring it up a little bit, it allows you to put the bolts back through. Okay, if not, you can struggle to get those top tie bar bolts through. So jack underneath to help you reassemble the lower arm, the lower tie bar, and get your nuts on. I'm using 2 nuts, keeping the original bolts there, but 2 new nuts at the bottom. I've opted to keep the original Ford bolts. You do get new bolts with these. These are shanked, these ones aren't. These bolts are good, galvanized, still clean, so copper slip on them, then in we go, nicely lined up. Lock nuts then, excuse me, we'll use the new lock nuts. Okay, a lot easier to get yourself one of these as well. This is a great investment. A set of these tools, you get various, I think there's 4 in the set, these Sealy ones, these little electric ratchets. You get a drill, you get another impact gun, screwdriver gun. These are really handy. I always just take it up and then spanner the rest of the way for the exact torque. You don't have to do torque settings, but just feel it by hand. So those 2 on. By the way, I couldn't use the original, but the new lock nuts, they were different pitch thread than Ford's bolts. I've kept with Ford's bolts. They seemed okay. Okay, I'm just going to swap the pads out as we said. First removal of the little split pins there, 2 to go, and then along those pliers grabbing the end of this pin, and the pin withdraws this way towards you, away from the hose. Taking the pad out with the grips, you can see how I've gripped that pad. You can just wobble it around, and indeed these pads don't look the best. There's not much left on those, so it's best we did this. Even wear on them and no scoring on the rotor. If you find your rotors are scored, they're reasonably cheap enough to replace. Of course, you'll have to take your wheel bearing off to do that, but these rotors are good. No need to do anything there, so just wiggle this out, taking careful note of the orientation or the direction or the fitting of the anti-squeal shim plate that's fitted on this. One hand again, the usual thing, but there we go, taking it out. You can see that squeal pad is rotting away. That stops rattling and brake squealing. Partially rotted away because the car's been standing. Also, it's just age thing. So I'm going to place that way so we know how that came off. And indeed what I'll do, I'll just position that there. So notice the back one. You can get these wrong. They're fitted a certain way. There's a direction arrow on them which indicates the direction of turn of the rotor. That way they perform as they should. I believe if they're the other way round, it doesn't work as well. So bearing in mind that. Quick look at the rubbers here showing they're okay. They've been replaced at some point. We're going to have to push the pistons back in. So we need to wind those pistons back so that the new pads fit, because these are pushed out now to accommodate the wear. So we'll get some grips and hopefully they'll squeeze in okay. If not, I think I've got a spreader tool which you put in and it basically pushes them back. I did notice as well fluid is low on the reservoir, so we'll need to top that up. We won't have to bleed the brakes, although it might be an idea to put fresh fluid in this vehicle anyway. So we'll look at that. I must admit though, not that long ago it did have a brake bleed through, so perhaps that's not, if you haven't changed your fluid for 3 or 4 years, it's hygroscopic, that is, it absorbs water, the brake fluid, so it's good from time to time to stop corrosion in your brake system to change your fluid. It absorbs water and can cause internal erosion. Indeed, some cylinders are stainless steel to help against this, some aren't. If you find your caliper hasn't got stainless liners and seals, you do get that problem when the car's laid up, that your brakes will stick or be seized on. That can happen a lot. So again, it comes down to usage of the car. The longer you leave them standing, if they're not as prepped for the stand, then they can deteriorate over time. This had fluid change, so it's probably all right. When I have fitted pads in the past, I've always copper slipped them, so these came out quite easy. When I'm going to reassemble these with copper slip as well, and then we can slot the caliper back on, and that side's done. So upper and lower wishbones are back on. Withdraw the jack now so that you can put the remaining bolt in. It was just obscuring that second fixing bolt on the lower ball joint. Lock nuts tightened up using the ratchet at first and then finishing off with the spanners. So that is it. I did notice slight wear in this upper bush here. I was able to slightly move this top wishbone arm. Ideally those top bushes should be replaced. However, there is a problem with that, and that is that the top bolt here won't withdraw. If you look, it's going to hit the chassis. It requires the car suspension clip being lowered to take that bolt out, I do believe. I'm not going to do that this time. The wear wasn't excessive, but ideally those bushes would be changed. I would imagine that the collar in the bush is worn, so that's something to think about. It's not a big deal, it's not rattling like crazy, but I did feel a little bit of play in that. Bearings okay. I did check for play in the bearing when the wheel was on, when I first jacked the car up. It's always good to do that if you're ever working on the front end of the car and your wheel is off the ground with the tyre still attached, wheel still attached. Slightly rock up and down, top hand and bottom hand at a 12 and 6 o'clock position. Should feel a very little bit of movement, but not excessive. It's all down to tightening up the wheel bearing nut until it's just hand tight, then a quarter turn, then the locking pin and castle nut and locking pin back on, cap back on with plenty of grease. That's a new bearing, it's okay. So we've not got a problem there, no grinding, no wobbling on that bearing. They have been done not that long ago. I mentioned the car's always been serviced. I've had this car since 1992, end of 92 October when I bought this car. 1992, folks. That's how me and this car have been together a long time. It's a rare thing that you can own a car that long these days with so much throwaway stuff. To have a possession in your life that amount of time, I think it's great. We've been through some adventures together, and rot wise she's held out. The sills were absolutely blitzed with wax oil over the years repeatedly. There is some rot coming through now on the car, nothing drastic. It is all still in pretty solid shape. It's held out against the elements because of all the preventative measures, but it is an ongoing battle. Even with the best restoration, you can have rust come through in places that you just missed. You can't get everywhere. On all my fleet, whilst they are all mint, there's a couple of little things, but you keep addressing those. Nothing major. Car overall is very solid. If I had my way one day, I'd fully strip this bare metal, dip it and start again. I'd be finding all my old patches over the years, but that's one thing for the future. Let's get on. and we'll get this brake caliper refitted out with new shoes. Pads. Another quick PC tip for you to get your calipers back in, at least on Cortinas. Again, using these 10 tools grips, nice pieces these. You can just open the grip to just the right point, and they are just the right size to grip, and slowly squeeze that cylinder back in, and that one's gone in nicely, so is the other side. So these hadn't seized, so we're lucky there, no rust. So just gripping and slowly. You do have to adjust as you go on the adjuster on the actual grips themselves, just to get it right. Push in and readjust on the locking jaws, and eventually both pistons fully withdrawn. So we're lucky. They don't always do that easy. Here we just look. I don't know if the stainless steel, they could be. These could have been done. I know, as I said, I've always put effort into maintenance on this car. So they've gone back all right. We're ready to go and find in stores now the brake pads. One thing to note on the brake pad kit, you don't always get the new fitting kit for it. So for example, these APEC pads in the storage a while, they're okay, but a little bit of rust on the edge there, that's all right. So a set of 4 pads, and you can see the wear difference here now. About halfway down, maybe a little more, certainly on the way out, definitely got to be done. But they don't come always with the new shims. Now these look like stainless shims to me. I may have got these from Big Red, I don't know. I've certainly got some bearing, some piston seals there, and we've got the new pins here, and they do have these little clips which are very difficult to work out how they fit. I'm going to have to look. That's a fitting kit. Looks like we've got enough for both sides as well. So we've got a new fitting kit there. I'm seeing if there's a code for you. It could be this code here, H0910. That's from Big Red, but you can get them from Big Red. So just have a little look. There's something I've been looking for a while. My Weber carburetor tag. How the hell that got stuck there? So yeah, a fitting kit. I'm not sure what they use the silicone grease for. Oh, that's for the caliper rubbers. We're not fitting those, but yeah, new pins, clips. There are some clips here which I didn't remove off my car, and they hold the pads back in place. In fact, they are the rattle pads, rattle springs that stop you. They stop the brake pad from doing this. Look, a little wobble from side to side. They just keep them back and stop them from rattling, and the shims stop the squeal. So that's it. So you have to get one of them kits. If it doesn't come with your pad set, it probably won't. So go on Big Red and get yourself one of them M16 calipers, I think they're called. Very easy to get hold of, and not expensive. So if you're going to do this job, get everything ready like that, and make sure, as I said, that you fit your shims the right way. I'm going to do that now. So preparation. And a Cortina City reference clip for you if you want to learn how to put those pad rattle springs in. Can you see how they're fitted there? One end hooks up under the pin here, the pin goes through it. It grips the shim and the pad, and I think that is correct. I'm about to find out if it's correct. So we're fully drawn back, and there's enough width there for the rotor to go in, so it should be right. And they do feel under tension, so it is creating the kind of anti-rattle effect. I think that is how those little springs go. Can be challenging if you've never fitted them before. So you're hooking under the pin, the other end of the pin, so that way actually goes through it. So it's the curved part of the clip is inboard. As long as you get that bit right, that is it. That helps the pads from stopping rattling. New pins in, copper slip on, and then just at the end, just because we can, I just copper slip the end of the pin. The end of the retaining pin, they can rust very easily, so that's going to help a little bit. Okay, we'll put this rotor back. Okay, we're all done. So here we have the caliper back on. You can see those pins there. The locking tabs, the bolts that hold the caliper on have a plate that goes through them. It's this bracket here actually. It has locking tabs on it to stop the caliper from coming loose. You have to knock those over once you line them up. Tighten up as much as you can and then find the best position for the locking tab. There's 2 or 3 to pick from that land on the flat edge of the bolt head. That's it. I put a little bit of copper grease on the face of the hub. Just helps with the wheel coming off and on. And that should be it for this side. I'll do an inspection as well of everything else. I'll just get a little squirt of a bit of lubricant around various places. Then this wheel can go back on. Then it's the reverse on the other side. I will show you on the other side the ball splitter in action. And perhaps not talk you through another brake caliper install or brake pad install. Suffice to say that if you follow those instructions, you should be good to go. We won't be needing these old pads, of course, or the shims, so they get scrapped. And what we'll do now, we'll put everything away, wipe the tools down, clean our hands and start all over again. We're going to know what tools we need, so I'll just grab the ones that I've used for this job and clone them across to the other side. A little bit less space on the other side of the garage. I could move the car across with this wheel back down, but it means back off the axle stands. I'll squeeze in on the other side and we'll do an exact copy of this side. That gives us new brake shoes, an inspection of the suspension, new upper ball joint and new lower ball joint. Should help for a better ride. I definitely know the other side is bad. I can hear it squeaking, I can feel play. The other side ball joints are in bad order. And indeed, I tell you what happened actually a few months ago. I say a few months ago, it's over a year ago. Could even be longer. That the other side, the top ball joint shattered completely. The pin snapped. Here it is. Well, this isn't the one, but that pin snapped. And the wheel fell outwards. And I was stranded at the side of the road. This is the reason why the other side has got a second-hand upper ball joint on it, and it squeaks, and it was off some spares I had. I didn't have a new old stock one at the time to replace it with, and to get me off the side of the road I had to go back with a second-hand one that I pulled off an old suspension clip. So definitely the driver's side, the offside, is in desperate need for the upper and lower ball joints, but always do them in pairs, both sides, because if one side's worn, it means the other side's probably not far behind it. So if you're going to do this job, don't just do one upper. If it fails, do the whole lot. It's not worth it. See you on the other side. Okay, on the other side, and I was going to show you the really great ball joint splitter in action. There it is. But these ball joints are so knackered. Oh, they're falling off. Woo! These are gone already. Just with the fork, didn't even try, and they're already split. So this is already loose because they're so shot up here. And we're looking at some rusty bolts, so we're going to have fun on this side, folks. Fun down at the city. Let's start stripping this now. So upper wishbone will go off like this. I just break apart like that. So first job's to get chomping into these top bolts that look rather rusty. It's 13 mils at the ready. Whiz them off, and this is shot to anything. Hang on, you're sideways. There you go. So all in need of the TLC this side. Let's get right to it. Status report, and another little tip for you. Might be a good idea just to leave that bolt in so the tie bar doesn't go shooting off, and then you might not have to jack up the lower arm. It's just about enough thread there to pull it back in. So maybe that's a tip. Leave a bolt in. Don't have to take both bolts out, I don't think. Oh yes you do, because you got to slot the... No, it bolts from underneath. No, it bolts from underneath. Okay. Only if it bolted on top. So yeah, you could pass the new one in. This bottom ball joint, not too bad, to be fair. Looks like it's been replaced. This top one leaves a lot to be desired. Just feast your eyes on that, folks, at YouTube and Patreon land. That's shot to sugar. Just look at that bad boy. Well ready. A worthy replacement, I'm sure, for Pete C at the city. We've got, of course, the brake pads to do on this side. This rotor just resting precariously there on the track rod end, and we're just seeing some oil there, but that's coming in from the rocker cover. I don't think there's any power steering fluid loss. I've not lost any in the reservoir. Anyway, back to this. Upper and lowers again. Some copper slip needs to be ready. Some fixing bolts need to be brought round. This side going a lot quicker. Like I said, we didn't need the ball joint splitter, but if we did, we'd open it up between the two ball joint ends, open it up, and it prizes them apart. It's a great tool, but on this side was not needed. I shall scoot across the other side of the workshop, start reinstalling the same as we did on the other side. Upper bolted back on. Just like this. Lower one, bit of lubrication and a bit of copper slip coming up to the new joint, the new ball joint. Cap off, slip on. Plenty on, douse the cowlings. Where's our torch? What's it doing there? Stuck to everything. Stop this. Okay, that's going on now. Ball joints on, caliper coming off. One caliper about to be removed. Might have to give it a tap. They grip a little bit, but it'll go. We'll have to be careful of the flexi hose. There we go. There we go. Then pads about halfway, even wear on both sides. Need to support that. It'll land just. It's not putting stress on the brake flexi there. So we're back to doing another caliper this side. Same as last time. We're flying through this side now. Okay, that's it. Everything back this side. About half an hour to do once you get into the swing of it. I've lubricated up that top wishbone bolt. It doesn't rattle this side, so there's definitely a bushing gone on the other side. So quick check underneath for anything that was loose. Everything looks good. Wheel back on. We'll just road test this now. That'll be it for today. We'll not go for a walk. We'll find it. We'll find it. Continuing on, and I don't know where I left off actually, but I do remember saying to you folks out there in YouTube and Patreon land that I would be doing the lower water hose. So let me show you what I've done. A bit of a brainwave in the middle of the night. I remembered that there was a later style radiator with right hand outlet as opposed to straight out on earlier Cortina, and I thought, if a right hand outlet takes the pipe a different way, this was to clear the fan belt problem we were talking about. It indeed does. So what we've done is fitted a right hand fitting radiator, and the hose then loops round to our left back and completely clears the belt, the power steering belt. So if you're fitting power steering, you fit a later style radiator. I was lucky because KP had the later style radiator on, and really KP shouldn't have had the later style radiator on, so swap radiators. Tina G's goes on to KP, KP goes on to Tina G, and we've got new hoses as well. They're in good order. Had some new hoses in stock anyway, so that's on and clearing, which means that setup is now complete. I still have a slight oil leak from the wider style rocker cover, and that's because I noticed it was bent, so I've knocked it down a bit. That's helped the leaks a little bit now, but not as bad. Power steering had a leak on the actual body of the power steering pump, and that was some Allen keys. 3 Allen key fittings were not tight. I don't know why, but I had to tighten them up. A little tricky to get to using the right socket, an Allen key type socket. I was able to nip those back up. I fixed the alternator light. That was a bad circuit board connection on the back of the instrument cluster, so I thought it might have been that. So that's fixed, and we've got an alternator light on now. Then I went on to topping up the oil, and then thought, how is the oil breather? I've never looked into the principle of crankcase ventilation, okay? And I noticed that when you pulled the cap off with the engine running, it was sucking really hard on the cap, as though the cap was blocked. And indeed, look over here, folks, and the cap has been taken to pieces. Look at this cap. This has been on Tina G for years and years and years. Look at this, it's completely clogged up. See that? Completely clogged. And I'm going to show you how you can test, not only, well, I say you can test your breather cap just by looking at it, and you can clean these if you really want to. I've got a new one there, so there's no point. But I've got this, I just made this, I'm quite proud of this. I've just made a crankcase vacuum tester. So I had this Sun engine vacuum gauge spare with nothing to do with it, and I thought, then I had found by luck this breather cap, okay, 73 HF breather cap, and I've connected the vac tube to it, and you can fit it to the engine. Let's do that, and you can crank the engine up, and you can see if your engine is drawing down vacuum. Now it draws down vacuum by this pipe here, which is going into the inlet and then goes into the PCV valve, okay, down into the oil catch can. So if that pipe's not collapsed and is in good order, because these vac pipes going into the catch can collapse, if it's not and it's in good order, then you'll get vacuum through as long as your PCV valve's working, and draw down a vacuum on the gauge and draw down the vacuum on the breather cap, because the air goes in through the top of the breather cap and the fumes from the engine are drawn through and then burned by being sucked up through this tube into the manifold and burned in with the rest of the emissions. Never make the mistake of connecting your PCV pipe to the third outlet, which is the brake one. Some of them have a twin pipe. Sometimes you can get your brake vacuum hose and connect it there, and connect your PCV valve there further down the line in the manifold. But it's not a good idea, because you want to burn evenly all those fumes through all 4 inlet ports. If you connect your breather pipe to the latter, you're only going to burn fumes in cylinder number 4, which would get uneven combustion. So you've got to burn burn all the oil or the fumes, the crankcase fumes, evenly in to the first inlet, the master inlet of the inlet manifold. An easy mistake to make. I've seen this done. I've never done it myself, but I have seen it done. So if all that's working, then you should draw vacuum here. So I'll show you that working in a sec. We'll crank the engine up and you'll see a vac draw on this gauge. Okay, I'll start by not having it on. Whoops, whoa, catapult. I nearly broke my gauge. Good job it's plastic face. Hold on while I crank the engine and we'll do that. A quick test you can do is a piece of paper. You'll see it draw in there, look. See that? You see how that's drawing that paper in, so we've got good vacuum anyway. Then when we connect this into there, you can see the vacuum drawing up nicely. Funny, when you block that up, you get a funny little noise from the engine, like a little whistle sound. This is probably because it's just it can't get any breathing through, but it's good to have that working because it stops fumes coming into the cabin and keeps the engine running cleaner. You can always tell when they're blocked. You get a horrible engine smell, a burny oil smell. That's if your engine's gone and you've got back pressure as well, that can happen. But if that's not working properly, the engine doesn't clean itself as good. So great. You can take your cap apart. Not sure how effective it is taking your cap apart, then clipping it back together. I don't see why it shouldn't work. This one popped apart quite easily. But that one's really clogged, so you could put that in a degreaser and clean it up. There's not much to it really. Here's one that we ripped apart earlier. It's just a mesh. So can be done. That's a little interesting one there. So your crankcase ventilation, it's all designed just to keep the sump and the rocker cover fumes all being drawn out and kept clean. Otherwise you could get fumes coming out the top of the engine and a crankcase pressure build up in the sump itself. So this helps from a pressure building up in the sump from the way that the pistons fly around in there, and also fumes to be drawn down and keep everything clean. So this should run a lot better. That cap will have been blocked for a long time. I'll have been running this for a long time like that. It's an oversight on my behalf. Not something I've ever considered. Something as simple as that cap. And yes, you can tell when your rocker cover gasket's good because you get air drawn in. If it was a loose gasket, I know ours is a little bit loose, but it just shows that the engine's in good order as well. So a little tip there. Those filler caps can be bought brand new for not much more than £5 to £10 anyway, if you didn't want to take yours apart and clean it. And as I said, the quick test, you can put paper on there and you'll see the paper draw in like that. If you know you're good, it'll pull it in a little bit. If that's not happening, inspect your pipes and your PCV valve and that your catch can on the side of the engine is firmly located. If not, you can put solder around it like I've done. Look, previous episodes of this series, we soldered it, filed it back, then a little bit of JB Weld and set the can in. I don't think you can see it. Yes, you can for the can. There you go. There's your catch can, and I've got a new PCV valve in there too, and a new piece of hose because that can clog and collapse. That hose there can clog and collapse. You have to get the right hose. You'd have to talk. Apologies for that. Got flat battery mid-sentence there. The clip continues. I was saying you can keep your original Ford cap and clean it up. Indeed, you could put that plastic cap on top of the new one, but it's slightly bigger fit. You could glue it on if you want to keep your car factory looking, or just replace the wadding in it. You could get this new wadding perhaps if you want to keep factory looking with your Ford code in the top of the cap there. If you ever want to build a pressure tester, I use this old Ford cap with the, curiously not sure why they changed it to have that ventilation tube in the side. There'll be a reason for it, not sure what that is, but I made that with a simple vacuum gauge, and I was getting 20 whatever it is centimeters of vacuum on my gauge. I'll be very curious to test the other cars, and do you know what, I'd like to incorporate that testing procedure into the Krypton tune-up. So we'll add that when we're doing the Krypton tune-ups. Indeed, Tina G is due to go on the machine. We'll be doing that tomorrow. So I've got my notes ready for Tina G there. A list of jobs that needed to be done that we've worked our way through. New wiper blades have gone on. And to check for the right code, I use PWC 16 blades. Okay. The radio is on. I'm going to switch that off. It's very distracting when you're doing your filming. Anyway, I'm out on a little road test. I've adjusted the kickdown as well on this. Tyres been inflated. They were slightly wrong pressure. Power steering, as I said, there was that slight leak. That's done. Generator lights fixed. A couple of other little electrical gremlins I've done. My little Alexa unit wasn't working. There was a loose wire. So these tools out, and I'm taking this for another little bit of a road test spin. But the radiator has worked and it's cleared those hoses, so you'll watch on the power steering conversion that when you have a straight out radiator without the right angle outlets, the hoses cannot quite clear the power steering if you add it. So by fitting the right angle radiator, the routing of the pipes is much more suited. saves me having to build any kind of adaptation. There was talk of using a little bit of chrome pipe, but it was looking a bit tricky. Then I had the brainwave or realization that perhaps the later radiators, and that indeed may be why they did it, because early Cortinas didn't have power steering, so it could well be one of the reasons. Out for a road test, and catch you soon on the next clip. It's a whole day for me, for you, it's a matter of seconds. Pete C at the controls, this is Cortina City. Out for Tina G's 4th or 5th road test now, off we go. Okay, I'm going to take you away from the PCV valve and the little bits of engine checking there. We talked about that radiator adaptation and clearing the fan belts, if you recall. For me it was a whole day, well, a night's sleep anyway. And you'll see in front of the screen a starter motor. Reason it's here, I had some deruster solution on the go because I'm derusting the prop shaft. We've actually got the CV joint on the Tina G is got too much play in it, so I can get that out and get a single piece, but I have got a spare prop which seems to have no play in it, but it was very rusty, so I've been cleaning that up. Whilst I had the rust solution on the go, I thought, well, I've got this. Basically, it was going to be a written off starter motor, and I put it out for scrap, and I thought, just dunk the whole thing into the solution and just see if you can get it going, and then it might help someone else who is struggling. Now, I bought a new starter motor, one of these super duper high torque, but I think it's a tooth out. I think it's for the C4 gearbox, whereas I've got the Borg Warner 35. It's possible, because the torque converters are different, it's possible that the ring teeth, or the amount of teeth on the ring gear is different, and that occasionally when I'm starting this car with this new starter motor on, it's locking up. So I thought, well, rather than take this away to get rebuilt, if they indeed can rebuild it, let's spend an hour and just see if there's anything we can do. Now, I've started already stripping it, and I took off this star washer here. That was off this end, and I've loosened off these two nuts here. Now, they are screwdriver fit, and I used the best screwdriver I had, which was my snap-on, even with the spanner connector on it, and I couldn't get them. So what I did, got grips and went across the slot, not with the slot, otherwise you'll crush the slot in the head. That way I got a really good grip in it and slowly tapped, and I freed them up. So you got to watch those, they could be seized in. So just going, following the process. I have got the book in front of me, you can just see it to the left there. That's the Ford workshop manual, and it doesn't really tell you, well, actually does it? It does tell you a lot, but it tells you a lot. But this is called a starter motor type E, which is the automatic one. It doesn't list it as type E being automatic in the book, just shows the diagram, and you can ID it as a Lucas type E. I can't quite see the casting numbers on it, but it does say 1973 there, so it's a 73 unit. Here we have the picture of it there, so that's in the book. There is some basic information in the Haynes as well. Right, that's popped out. Okay, so here's our solenoid, and this actually activates the pre-engage, and off it comes. Let's see how seized up that is. Not too bad. That looks all right. That's not showing signs that it's overheated or anything, so this can benefit from some lubrication, and that's that part. So there's not a lot we can do there. It's not rusty, so we're gonna have to, that's just come off, so we're gonna have to make sure we work out how to fit that back. But that's in good order, to be fair. I can't complain about that. It would seem such a shame to have thrown this away, actually. Look at that. So I don't agree with throwing stuff away, and I almost went down that path with this. What I'm going to do for you to help as well, while we do this, I'm going to chop this up just off your screen while I grab a little shock, a little wooden shock, just to lift us that little bit. Let's see which one we could use. That's a bit too big. I'm just trying to raise you up a bit. I'm going to close this book now, just for now. Have a look on your screens. If this helps, I'll turn it round in case you've not got the Ford book. That's for this Type E, which is an automatic Borg-Warner type starter motor. Just in case anyone's using this for reference, they could freeze that on their screen. It is the right one. I'm going to turn it that way, leave it slightly exposed. Right, we can pull these out. Allow me now to just move the tripod, so a little bit of vibration for you, because I'm going to come in between the tripod, trying to keep you good angles. Can't quite face you off pointing up to the screen. I'd like to put you there, but I can put you there. Come on, let's do this. See if this is too tall. Is it too tall? No, that's okay. Hey, go! You go! What are we worrying about enough? What are you worrying about? What can you all worry like that for? Right. These now withdraw. This will be wet because it's the complete thing's been underwater with the derusting solution, but that's okay because we had nothing to lose. Okay, so why not just try and save yourself some money? Okay, we can clean all these parts up. We don't know. It's all down to the condition of the windings and the brushes. If the windings are burned and the copper's not quite clean and copper coloured, it's sort of dull black, you can tell the windings have gone. You can do a resistance test on the windings, what you call the field coils. And the book does give you some specs for checking those, but visually you should be all right. And basically, if it spins fast and it's good, then it's doing what it should do. So we don't no idea what to expect now. The book shows me the brushes coming off, so we might pop the brushes off the armature here. Stay with me. I don't know what's going to happen, how that cap's going to come off. That should come off. I took the star washer off it. So I've got a copper hammer just to see if anything happens on this. This could be seized on, quite possibly will be. It makes sense that it'd be seized on, that end. I don't think anything else holds it. Could be some resistance on that. It's hard to know where to strike it to get what we need. I would imagine that could be pretty nicely fused into the end of there. So we're going to have to come up with a technique of pulling it. A hub puller won't fit on. Don't really know. That could be all fused to the armature. Anything could be going on there, folks. No sign of life yet. The bench, this bench isn't the best to strike it on, really. As cracked, I can see it. Something's gone. I don't know if there's enough to get leverage in. Don't think there is. I'm going to try and do a convoluted move here. It's going. I'm sort of jammed across the tripod. The things we do at the city. Woo! Woo! There's enough to get a screwdriver in. My hand goes in front of your screen and annoys you. There you go. We're off. So a little bit handy to have the copper hammer. It doesn't damage. It takes up the impact on the copper face. And I have to maneuver my feet around the legs of the tripod. You don't see this at home, folks. This is what YouTubers have to do, all of us. Right. What we got, the whole lot's coming out, which means it'll be disengaging from the brushes soon. I can see the internals really. It should come off the end of here. So really that should tap through. That should tap through. At the moment, that should tap through really. I don't know if it is designed to tap through. What's the book say? Let's have a look. Can't quite tell, but it doesn't look like anything holds it other than the star washer. So really a hub puller might help on that. Save shocking it too much. Let's say if we put the hub puller on, we could perhaps push that through. I reckon that's it. When you do that, that's when you're going to lose the brushes. So, but we do need to see the brushes, so it's all down. The difficulty of this job will all be down to how difficult the bushes are to relocate and whether or not you can withdraw the rest of this. Something's stopping that from coming out. I don't know how that nose section comes off. Spinning it around so you can see at home. It'd be handy if we could get that nose off. Ah, there's some kind of engaging fork. Yeah, you'd have to somehow unhook that. This could be tricky to reassemble if you don't know how it went back in. And really, you should have marked the casing position. That was an error. I could always go back to the video though. So, starting to struggle a little bit with the whole lay of the land here. I'll just take the block away for a sec. We don't need that solenoid just yet. That dish can get out of the way. So you're going to have the pre-engaged unit arm trying to slot into there. And really this casing needed to be marked, but I suppose you'd get it. That's actually free. I can see the cogs turning there. We could leave this and just wash this out, but for your viewing pleasure we'd like to take a peek inside. So I'm sure we can do it, and I'm sure there is a clutch in there too. You can see the clutch now. I'm just trying to see a way of unhooking this. I think there will be a way of unhooking it. Something somewhere goes somewhere. I can see the clutch arm. That's come out, so that's good. We wanted that. That's going to make life easier. Now we can see the full. Oh, there's a pin. We've got it. We've got it. There's a pin. Will it knock out? Ooh, that's not nice. There's a pin here. I'm going to bring it up to your screen. There, right in the middle, which holds the locking bar, which holds the armature on. So that pin would need drifting out. I don't like the look of that because it's a one-way affair. It's very soft metal though. And it has little tabs that bend over, we know him. There we go. He actually bent over. I actually sat in Ruby and wanted to buy it. And I missed it. I was at the show. You want to meet your idol from the 90s. What have you been doing? What have you been watching? Bent over, it was the NEC Motor Show. And he saw Ruby. And his dad had one. And he wanted it. This is going to be, this pin will not be nice. I can tell straight away that pin will not. It's very soft. I don't think that will move. Yeah, it might do. Showing signs here. I'm just trying to get this pin out. That releases the arm. So I don't think there's any other way of releasing the arm. And a whole lot withdraws. So we do need to take this pin out. But I don't think this is going to do it. Pin out. The pin is out. And there is our pin. We're going to grip that pin and withdraw the pin. So starter motor attempted rehaul then. Starter motor a 1973 Type E starter motor, Lucas, for an automatic Borg Warner gearbox, not for a C3, although it could be, I don't know. It's all down to the amount of teeth on the pinion wheel. Out comes the pin. We should be able to reuse it. Oh dear, I wish they weren't making all those tools. Grinding noises next door. It's amazing how that noise can penetrate. It's incredible. I've got all the doors shut. It will stop soon. There we go, that's the pin out. Sorry about the noise in the background. It will stop soon. Rapid. Okay, this should just come straight off, which it does. Now we can just clean that up. There's nothing to do in that. Is that grease? So there could be, yeah, there'll be grease needed for the pre-engage arm to operate, but this now can be washed, so that's good. That's to one side. That leaves us with this. There's our clutch. And you can now access the fork, the operating fork, and we can see the rest. There's actually not that much to it, to be fair. I'm going to get you in on the action there. Going to adjust the LED lighting, bringing it up just a little bit. Okay, so we don't need that. This isn't going too bad. Actually quite enjoying this. I think these kind of videos as well the viewers enjoy, because it's saving something, isn't it, or attempting to save something. So how does that get past and out of the casing? Still stuck. So the fork is still stuck on. How does it come off, we ask? Well, there is a pin there. Sorry, a washer there, but I don't think that wants to come off. No, you won't be messing with that. That's the clutch there. Do we need to? Is it worth it? I mean, can we just clean up? We can see the field windings there. With the tape on, they don't look burned. And even if that was damaged, there's nothing we could do. So I would suggest that just the fact that it's that much moving, there's that much movement available, that we could leave it. Or you could say, will it go out that way? It could go out that way once you take the end off here. So we need to put a hub puller on that. Let me get that now. I'm going to pause the video. You'll start off at the same angle, but I'll go and get the hub puller. Okay, hub puller's on. I'm unsure of this because I think it'll smash the brushes myself. I don't think this is right. Them brushes are on that armature. How are they going to release with this? Yeah, it must come off. It shows the cap off here, but will the brushes catch? You know, that's a fair bit of force going on there now, and it's not having it. I don't like that. I just don't like it the way that is. I really don't, folks. You can see the brushes. There's nothing happening here. Nothing moving there. Is that what was wrong with this? Is that the fact that that is fused? Is that what the problem was? That this was fused to the casing? It could well be. It doesn't want to rotate. There's the clutch. It doesn't want to rotate on that. Oh, it does now. It did then a little bit. Sorry, they're doing the grinding again. I really don't know. Beginning to wonder. Beginning to panic. This is critical. This is make or break if you get this wrong. It has to be this. Has to come off. We're so close to sort of making this half decent job as well. You know, to getting it clean and getting it going. And this stick in here is holding us up. I really don't know any other way it can come off because there's no other fixings. That's it, it's gone. Copper hammer to the rescue. Sorry, I struck the tripod. Sound the alarm. A tripod has been struck. You can see he's done it again. Struck the tripod. So that has gone through. I just hope that when we're off we can get the brushes on. I know that I've said that a few times now. Here we go. For your viewing pleasure, slowly. And then back round to see the brushes. There they are, 3 of them. 4 of them, sorry. And they just pop out and they look in good order. So the brush pack looks okay. Have a look at that. Plenty of life on those. And there's our... Whoa! You saw... Whoa! You're not supposed to do that. We said it'd come out that way, didn't we? You're not supposed to do that. That was an error on my behalf. Anyway, there you go. Plenty to get our teeth into there. And what's the condition of the commutators? They're good. That's a beefy unit. There's some guts in that. That you know, you'll not go blind drinking that. Look at that. That's a lovely little armature. Look at that. That's proper engineering. That's beautiful. Wow, look how clean it is. It's not rusted up or nothing. Let's get to work on this. I'm made up. I'm absolutely made up. Now we don't want to get these brushes the wrong way. So we're going to have to mark these now. Things could go terribly wrong if you put those brushes in back the wrong way. So we need to now mark those up. Or just make sure that they don't fall out. One has fallen out. So we've got to be really careful with these. I'll bring them up to your screen so you can see what I mean exactly. We just don't want to get those wrong. And we can tell which way this casing fits because that goes there and the bolts go through. So there's possibilities to repair all of this. Okay, let's get cleaning it now. So we want to put this in a plastic tub and just start some initial cleaning. Then we'll do some winding measurements to make sure nothing's short. Then clean this up. We'll first clean it up in degreaser. Then we're going to clean the face of these with a contact cleaner and a fiberglass brush and just see how clean we can get this. Then we'll reassemble because that's all we can do. Perhaps some black paint on this casing. Won't last, but you know, the intention's there. So now we're going to change scene. We're going to clean up all of this, put this stuff away for now, just put everything in a line for now. Okay, and then get to work cleaning up the stuff. So we'll switch tactics now to cleaning. Overhead for you then. Remove some stuff. I have to dodge around the tripod now. The things I do for you in this channel. Oh, right, a stiff bristle brush. This is actually a what you call a seam sealer brush, but it's great for this kind of a job. So we're going to go in, we've got Nerta degreaser there. Now, if you want to know what Nerta degreaser is, I'll get the tub because it's, I mention it a lot on the channel. Just about be able to put this tub in front of the screen for you. Nerta Super Degreaser, N-E-R-T-A. I swear by it, since 1971, it says. I don't know where you get it. I get it from my local cleaning supplies. They do all sorts of bleaches and cleaning supplies for industry, for catering. A catering wholesaler will do it. It's very, very good. And it's non-corrosive, doesn't attack your hands. It's citrus based. Lovely stuff. So douse liberally. You can't get it in a spray as far as I know. Spray liberally. No, you can't. Spray, let's spray. Just spray. Some serial numbers coming up on this. Go in between the important places, which is the windings. Field coils will do next. These are the armature windings. Rotate round nicely there. Not much. This is really clean. God, I'm so glad I didn't scrap this. Oh, what a shame it would have been. And it, you know, they look all sorry for themselves and rusty there, but underneath, especially on this Lucas model, this isn't cheap Chinatown rubbish. You know, that one I got off eBay, that's Chinatown. This thing, you can go in and hammer nails with it all day, and it's going to come back home and shoot dead on target every time. Look at that. That's a great little starter motor. Look at that. And if you want a Cadillac, and get your Cadillac with a pink slip for $2,000. What will it be? Everything. Okay. We close early today. There's a 45-day wait on the handguns, but the shotguns you can take straight away. You can't do that. Wrong. Yeah, so yeah, you can go out, bang nails in with this all day, and it's going to come home and shoot dead on target every time. Look at that. That's a great little gun. Look at that. Sorry about the grinding. As soon as I start speaking, it starts. It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. It's got to be done now. So noisy. Now, this noise is when I'm doing my welding, I suppose. I'm welding and grinding on my cars. Not really much more to do here. Move along, nothing happening. You get the idea, folks. So leave this with me. It's like the Addams Family, this, isn't it? That's the spirit thing. Lend a hand. See you in a sec. Okay, you saw that. I'm sorry about the air compressor, but it's nothing I can do. Finished off with brake and clutch cleaner. It really does take off the carbon off that commutator face. Very well built unit. Heavy, well built, good quality. What a shame they don't build them like this anymore. All you get is high torque Chinatown. Last you about 10 miles. This thing, like I said, it's going to last you forever. Look at that. A beautiful little piece of engineering. So we've cleaned up this section successfully. Very, very light now on this commutator face. And that is it. Okay, I like the way they do that. They have the brushes at the end as opposed to fitting on the circular way round. So a really good way of doing it. I love the way it's built. I'm going to be really happy knowing that I've got a serviced starter motor on this car and not this Chinatown piece of junk. What a piece of junk. You can just tell it's not right. I mean, to be fair, it could be one tooth out and it's making that sound worse than it is, and I'm being harsh because of that. But yeah, it's possible. So I'll say that with a little bit of reservation. But it just hasn't got the weight, but that's the idea, I suppose, with them. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about these new lightweight starter motors, and let me know what the pitfalls are. What's the downside? Is it just that modern technology now can beat this and it doesn't need all of this heavy engineering? I don't know. You tell me. I'm going to get on now and do the same cleaning treatment to this. See you in a sec. Oh, we'll dust that in as well, because if I do clean this now, it's going to get contaminated. So here we go. Okay, this has been cleaned up, and now I'm cleaning the end of the commutator. Just fine, 120 will do it. I've blasted it, as you saw there, with brake cleaner as well. That took a lot of it off. It's in good order. And there's plenty of depth. Well, I say plenty of depth. I'm just looking. These copper windings here about to punch through, but I don't think they are. It's difficult to say how much wear that's got on it. Simply, you can see where the ends of these
windings come poke into the end of the block, but I don't think that's the face. I can't feel a ridge on it either. It's difficult to know what depth these would have been. And just seeing if there's a gap between them, but there isn't. It's sealed. Sometimes with these you can get, with some motors you get an air gap, but this is resin sealed, so you don't get an air gap. And sometimes when they don't seal between there, not on starter motors but on motors in general, and you can get metal deposits shorting across, that's going to make a motor fail, but that's built differently, so there's not much else we can do with that face. It's all clean down here. We've just got to work out the best points to grease this. Obviously there's going to be grease on that winding. You can see the clutch, how it works. That turns that way, and if the engine catches it locks, and then if the engine catches it can turn back the other way, so it stops the starter motor freewheeling with the engine if it failed to disengage. A safety feature. Not much we can do with that except grease it up. That does feel a little bit tight there. I don't know, that just could be just the way that it is. So we need to just I'll blast some air through that, and I think just light engine oil to lubricate this, such as 3-in-1. Certainly there's a brass bushing at the end on the casing. It's just off your screen, but that will require soaking in oil because it will be a porous bush, brass bush, and it lubricates itself by the oil absorbing into the brass, then becoming a lubricated bearing. There it is in the end, spinning you around, so you can see there is a lubricated bearing here. That is the bushing. You could replace that if you thought it was bad. Let's feel how it goes on. Okay, it's going to be a bit rusty at first because we haven't cleaned the end of this. So this has got rust on it, but it'll clean up. Quite easily. Helped dipping this in the deruster. It might sound against intuition that the whole thing's been underwater overnight in that Rustex. We talked about the Rustex. It's featured throughout this film. It's a rust remover, very good. Rustex. Look through the video if you want to see. So you really want to get this smooth because you don't want rust rotating out on the bushing and causing uneven wear. So best to get this smooth. And then that would then insert into the bushing, obviously the other way. So some light oil to soak into that, and that would be the end, and that's not particularly worn. Just checking sideways, there is a little bit of play, not excessive, but there is some wear on that. Would be great to get a new one of those. And then the casing, I've painted it just before I cleaned it. Sorry, after I cleaned it, before I started to lubricate things back up, because the paint then wouldn't have stuck. So I got it to a nice clean metal casing. So that's just a satin black with red oxide underneath, so red oxide on first. Nothing to do inside here. I've blown it out with air. There, the field windings there, they look okay to me. So nothing's melted or burned in this unit. Why it was stalled and seized, we don't know. Probably the end bearing. In my opinion, it's had low usage, because if you look, the end of the ring gear, there's no chips or wear marks on that. It's in very good condition. Bringing it up closer to your screens at home and YouTube and Patreon land. Mk3 Cortina City at the controls. So a little bit of compressed air in here. I'm going to keep working that one there back. That's a good tight fit there. Everything seems nice, positive, free, clean. It'd be interesting to get a really bad example of this and try and restore one. I have got another one. It's Tina G's original. This is off Bramble. Exact same car as Tina G, apart from it being a two-door. So the bushes themselves, there's plenty of life on those. I'm feeling the spring action on them here. and I push in and there's plenty on them. I've cleaned those up with emery paper. I don't know if we should be lubricating those or not. The fact that it's copper isn't going to create any resistance. Copper naturally is friction free. Oh, what's the word when it's not creating friction? Anyway, free to move. I don't think there's any need to put anything on them because you risk contamination of the face of the commutator and the bushes, so it's best to keep that area just clean and keep this frequency clear. So we can now begin to reassemble. I've cleaned the face of both sides because I believe there would have been a gasket in there. We're going to use a little bit of RV silicone in there to keep it waterproof. There's nothing to stop us reassembling this now. The front casing, I've just give it a quick, oh my god, silver. Just a little bit to clean out on the inside there, and we're done. A little bit of air on that. A little bit of the grease there. That gives us a clue as to where it was greased. And I think we are going to go for a reassembly, folks. Nothing to do on this. It's a sealed solenoid. This, you could argue, a little bit of light grease on that, and that is it. I'm hoping this isn't off it, because if it is, I don't know where it came from. Let's hope it's not, but it probably is. We've got a washer astray. I think I know where it was. It was there. It's okay, panic over, the washer was there. Okay, reassemble time, everybody. I'm pretty pleased with this. Important to blast the air out of, or the dirt with the air gun out of all those crevices. The air gun being really important for this operation for cleaning up. It's really helped a lot. In fact, I'm going to give it one more blast. You may as well stay on for the action. Okay, I have the unit going back together now. This cap here, just waiting for the RV. We'll do that now. The RV goes on. Just looking for it off screen. I'm sure I can see it. Here it is. Just a little bit, just for the gasket. We'll just see if it's not blocked up. Which it is. Blocked up. Usual. Whoa! Boing, boing, boing. That should be it. Anything? Anybody? Anyone home? Oh dear. We're further in than we thought with the RV. Can we unplug? We just don't know. Or have I lost it? That'd be a shame because I've hardly used it. Who's going to invent a system that stops this? I don't know. That's well bunged up, that is. This is a pressurized can. And it looks like it's set much further down. I don't know how far we should go, but it's a long way. we'll be right back. But the idea is to put a gasket around there eventually. Well, that is set all the way through, in fact probably right the way through the can. Whoa! Oh my god! What have I done? Oh dear. I thought it... yeah, right. We'll be right back. Whoops! What a disaster that was. RV was not set all the way down, and a pressurised can, when Pete C burst it, forgot it was a pressurised can. So now we're going to have to go manual with this. Not what I wanted to do. It doesn't require much, but I've got myself covered in paint. Just look who it ain't. Absolutely covered myself in paint. Not what I wanted to do. And it's still dishing it out. Can you hear that? What a mess. I feel sad that I've lost a good amount of RV sealant. It's bloody good stuff. What a waste. I'm going to have to just have a clean up here. So I'm just dragging it through the join. Once I've cleaned up, I'll go over this and just bead it around. I don't know what the gasket would have looked like. It couldn't have been much, because there wasn't much residue of a gasket there. We don't want water getting in this end, and it is exposed to water. This is roadside splashes from underneath the car, so it needs to be done. That should do it. Two buffalo girls going round the outside, folks, round the outside. Pete C covered in sealant, going to make a monstrous mess of his lovely casing. A monstrous mess. A classic mess. All over his bushes, all over everything. He's ruined the show. Right, nicely beaded that around. Sorry about the mess there. So that RV goes round to make that end cap seal on. I can look down the barrel now, if you will, and see the brushes are all in place. Indeed, I've pressed them with a screwdriver just to make sure they're springing nicely and they're not stuck. So they're moving nicely. A little bit of 3-in-1 just on the springs of the bushes there, so they're nice and free. We can now insert the armature in. That should engage, and it should spring backwards and forwards on those bushes, just like this. Hold on, let's get through the bearing. Coming into your screens there, and there we are, springing backwards and forwards. Let's just get that re-engaged. The cap's trying to pop off with the pressure, but it will go. Whoops, not that much. Hold on, let's try again. Little bit of jiggery pokery needed to get that. That's it. We're in there. There we go. So I was telling you about springing up and down. Move that to the side. I'll bring this unit central, holding it at the bottom because the base will try and detach. And there we are, and we should rotate on that, which we do. So we're good there. Now we're going to get the cap on with the pin. Let me just wipe down this excess RV. Let's have a look at this. Of course, there's some alignment things to do now. We could do with just popping those bolts through. I know the cap's in the right place because it has a locating pin. These, a little bit of light oil, 3-in-1 we're using throughout today on this. Put that in, spin it as you go. Now that might have to just get past some of the wiring there, so be careful. Again, RV on the fingers, and then the armature slips out. That's the thing. I thought that might happen. There we go, we're back in. There's a lot of weight to it. I'm going to go in from the back. 3-in-1 again down here. In we go through the back, slightly out of your vision, and it should pop out to the front, which it does. So that tells us where the casing would be, the front nose section, if you will. It's going to be this way, that way, like that. So if I roll this, we're going to rotate this until the clutch fork goes, say clutch fork, it's the pre-engaged fork. That slots in from the back into that pin. So now we've got to get the pin through there. We will need some grease, so before we do, let's have a look where we're going to do our grease points. Just going to lay you out the best I can there and bring you slightly overhead, a little bit moving in, bringing this assembly further towards the center of your screens at home, just so you can see. You're going to have a little break in a minute. So we want to find the grease point, just see where the best place would be. I would say here and on that helix type gear there. So we want to get some general purpose grease ready and pop that in. Just put not too much on, find our places to grease it. I'll do that right now. Everything else is okay, and then we can get this bolted back together. Put the solenoid on. There's the solenoid. That could do with just maybe grease, or no, I'd say 3-in-1 for that. Let's have a look how that fits into there, folks. It's quite nice as it is. On that brass bushing there, it's, I would say 3-in-1's the best one. That's all it needs. That wouldn't need grease. There you go. Just a light bit. You don't want to put too much on. That's just right for that. But definitely grease on that spline, and perhaps on these pivot points there, and then that's about it. Water can get in there through the bell housing, so it's wise to grease up this area. I'll be right back when I find the grease. See you in a sec, PC. Right, here we go. Let's just hope that pin lines up. I haven't got to seal at that end either. But it looks like it's not drawn it in properly yet. Where's that pin? I think that pin should be in line. Yes, it is. Just. So I've got to get that pin through there. That's this one. That's got to go through that pin. But before that, we've got to tap it together. But before that, do we seal or not? Difficult one. Given that it can get through there, I don't really see the point. So I probably won't do that. I'm just going to try and wind these in evenly and draw it together. It is difficult at this angle. I don't know if that's going. Let's give it a tap. I don't think it's cross-threaded. I just got to grip it really. See, the thing is, because of the RV, really, we should have let that set. It always goes all over the place, doesn't it? I think that's it now, when that tap has done it. That's it. Our little tap did that. Now we're closing up. I don't know why these aren't bolt heads. It's silly having screws. There we go. Right. That's together. Is the pin in line? Yes, it is. It's beautifully in line. So 3-in-1 on the pin as it goes on its journey down there. Hopefully that'll catch the arm and then it's how you slot the end of this into that arm that's critical. Now it must be able to be done without removing the pin so that you could repair this. So it will be possible to do it without. I'm just looking at that gap and we're not quite closed up here. Although it is the opposites to the where the screws are, so that must just be the design. I don't really get much more on these. Not really. Will that pin go? Sorry for my arm passing ahead of you there. He's sick of me apologising. Right, time to try and engage the arm into the pin. A torch may be needed for this, or maybe not. Certainly through the, yeah, I can see where we're at there. It's through one side. It's now got to try and find its way out this side, which it's not quite in line. I thought this might be tricky. It looked tricky just by the nature of it. I did think this would be a little bit of a challenge, this pin. I'm going to lock that arm and then tap it a bit more. It's giving up some resistance, this. Might extract the pin and try again. Mess this up and we've blown the whole lot, folks. You can see what I'm trying to do. Send this pin through the little lever arm. I'll take it out and have another go. So at the moment it doesn't want to play. The end could have splayed out, it's possible. It has got a funny end to the pin. I think that's what's happened. It spread it, which was the risk I thought would happen. Spread the end of the pin. Yeah, spread the end of the pin out and opened it out so that it won't go back through. We're going to have to tap the pin out. This is tricky. I don't know how we're going to do this. Like this, I think. That's tight, that's stuck well in there now. I think it will go, but we're going to have to just ease it out. Oh, that's naughty. That's naughty. End of the pin is splayed. Not quite sure how I'll do this. No luck yet. Gonna have to find a way of getting that out. No, nasty. That is nasty. Because it's splayed, it won't go through the arm now. Nowhere near. Alright, I'll try and knock it out from the other side. We'll be right back. Okay, the pin is out and I've just slightly tapered it inward to help it go through that arm. So I'll try again. just knocking this straight because it wasn't quite straight. So try again. That is exactly in line there now. You can see right through to the other side. Should do. Right, that's gone through the arm. You can see it working there. The pre-engager. So we just need to get it to pop out the other side now. And it is heading that way, so it should go. There we go, we're in. We got it. We got it. Pins through, arms ready. It's just how you slot that. How you slot the solenoid on, but there must be a way of doing it. There's no way you have to take anything apart to get that onto there, so we're going to have to see the technique that you use. I think it just slots in, to be fair. I think it does. It would be pulling back on it, so it needs to be at the back. I don't know. I'm going to have a break because I deserve a break. But we're nearly there. Okay, going to bring you in. I'm going to have a break because I deserve a break. Pin is through, but the pin wants the end rounding off, you can see. So we'd have to support it at the other side and then splay that pin out a little bit. Splay that pin. So basically open it out a little so the pin doesn't drop out. So that's that. But how the arm goes onto there, I do not know. I cannot work it out. There must be a way. That goes there, so does it just push on it? It looks like it just pushes on it, which would be nice. I can't work it out. I think it just simply pushes. And there is no hook. This makes sense. It would be a lot easier for them to build it if it was built that way. That obviously, that's a seal. That's going into there. That goes on to wherever it wants to go, like this. Would that fit? Would that go in? I can't see it myself. I'm not convinced. Definitely not convinced about this. Something just isn't right. Something's definitely not right. Looking at that, it's an unusual design, I'm sure you'll agree, to work out how that would gauge with that. Can't see any logical way. I cannot see it. It's right in the middle. Don't know how we're going to do this. I really don't. I think I've got it. Oh no, yeah, I've got it. I've got it. Right, here you go. That'll push back and it slots through that gap. That's how it works. And I think you can just push it in and slot it on. I definitely know how it works. There you go. We've got it. That's how that fits. Right, we're making progress, folks. So yeah, it's locked on. That's that solenoid. Doesn't move much, does it? What's that there? We've got a washer here. I don't know why that's out. It hasn't moved. It definitely belongs there. I wouldn't have thought that that washer would be loose like that. It's going to rattle. Can't go anywhere else though. It was always on there, that. Interesting. At the moment though, I'm not... Oh yeah, it pulls it in. What are you on about? There you go. Pulls it in. I'm pushing. And then it comes out, but you know the score. Join me overhead then as we've got it all reassembled. I've just got to knock the pin end out there, just so it doesn't slip out. And I've got to put the dust cap on the end of this. The last of the 3-in-1 oil goes on the end. It's a really weird design because this spike washer here actually turns on that face of that bush. Actually, friction is very odd. Very, very strange way that it works. But we're going to test it now. We've got 12 volts coming in off the boost charge, off the super start. And then if I put the power feed to the power stud here, just checking that you can see this on your screen. I'm going to bring you right in a minute. You hit the tripod. So it would be there, and then click onto the solenoid to activate, and this will click it. Click, that's clicking. We're off. Straight in. Wow. Is that moving that in and out? Yeah, nice action there. Oh yeah. And there. And then there. Right, well that works. Just that pin, not the tripod. That works. Just that pin to knock out. Dust cap to go on. That is a hopefully serviced out starter. We can fit it to the car and see if it does what it says on the tin. I don't know if any keen-eyed viewers notice you're gonna rewind the film now. I got the body of this the wrong way round, so that contact bar thing was on the opposite side. I got it 180 degrees out when I was building it up. I had to flip it. Anyway, went back together better. That's a nice little unit, that. I'll save myself a load of money doing this. Let's just hope it actually does it. I can't see what can go wrong, really. Beautiful little unit. Not a beauty. 1973 stamped up there, 73. Beautiful little unit, a Lucas. And there's the code. What code have we got? We'll Google it. Let's get the code then. So it's a 542. Oh, it's a long number. We'll never get that. There's loads of digits there. 1778. That's a new. I think that's got 7687, but that's probably just a solenoid code. 1778 or 1778. Don't know. Anyway, pin to do, and we're going to fit it to the car. We'll be right back. So feast your eyes at home, folks. The city saving some money, hopefully servicing what was a left for dead starter motor. Let me go under the car and do the business, and we'll see if it actually turns the engine over. Slower turnaround, I must admit. It sounds slow when it's turning, but I think that is the max speed. I can switch to 24 volts. Well, we don't want to be doing that on the super start.
So plenty, it needs a lot of current, I know that much. The Super Start, I'm going to take you up. You're coming freehand now off the tripod. We gently lift you away. Super Start to 520 supplying the power. And that's got a lot of beef in it, a lot of amps. This is a heavy consumption of power. But what can we say? We have ourselves a starter motor. Join me freehand under the car as I get out the old motor. One more to go at the top. 2 bottom bolts. Power lead is off. 13mm on that one. Then there's a 17 at the top. We might have to go back up the top of the car for this. I can never remember if you can get that from here or not. Just about. Is that it? Can never tell. I'm just being lazy and not going back up to the top. There it is from the top. Don't think I can get that from here. Oh, maybe. I've done well if I do it all from here. I think I will. And exhaust in the way for you. You'll probably go about there. Right, so I've slackened it because the electric ratchet won't get them on the fully tight. I'm going to find my way on there. I don't know if I can get it in the angle from here. So we'll go back up from the top to get that last bolt. Round we go. Stay on. Woo! Bit of a limbo and a jiggly pokery. Up the top we go, in, down, on, just like this. That bolt is out. Starter motor drops away. Back underneath the car. That's a little bit of a limbo. And then grab the loose bolt so we don't land on our head. One loose bolt and one washer. One starter motor out. Whoops! And then down it goes. Let's have a look, see if it was catching. It didn't seem to be. Was that binding or anything like that? No, not really. It's been engaging okay. I don't know why that should be like that and not work. It sound weird. It doesn't look well made, does it? Let's face it, look at that. It looks like a piece of junk. It could be a backup motor. It's small enough to keep in the car, in the boot, and if you ever did get stuck at the side of the road and this starter motor fails, it's really easy to swap them at the side of the road. So now I'm going to need 2 hands because I've got to get in to the heavy starter motor, ready and lined up behind PC at the city. Whoa! It's a workout. It's a workout. Come on, get them dumbbells going. Woo! Yo mama. It's double dusty because it does go in, but without the hoses, but you get the fluid all over the place, of course. Anyway, that's the way it goes. Right, that's in. Get the bolts on here now. I wish they all had washers on these bolts, you know. I can't cope without them having washers on. Let me get washers on. No, maybe not. Oh, they've got washer faces on them. Okay, you win. Right, lock in there. Will it work, folks? Or are we wasting our time? And then I've got to put more power steering fluid in, and I'm low on that. So challenges across the board, folks, at the city. Yeah, so just swap those bolts for 13mm head bolts, and the starter motor is easy to get to with a ratchet. Now it's time. Everything's connected up. And watch this, because I already know it works. Immobiliser, and listen to this. This is fast. Okay, I've listened to the speed of this. High torque motors, high speed, high torque motors, my derriere. They're talking through here. This is garbage, eBay, Chinatown garbage. Back to the Lucas starter and listen to this. This is speed, I'm telling you. Put cap back on for the power steering. We had to drop the fluid when we changed the starter motor. The pipes were in the way, but listen to this. Boom, 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 shake the room. That's what I call fast start up. Boom! And you're in! Folks, that's what it's all about. The original Lucas unit, tons more juice, tons more cranking power than that piece of garbage. The other one, it worked, and we'll keep it in the boot as a spare. But I did notice, though, to be fair to the Chinatown starter motor, I was saying that sometimes it doesn't engage. There's actually a wiring fault where we get an intermittent circuit. It's probably the immobilizer. There is an immobilizer on this car, and I reckon the immobilizer relay contacts are a bit dirty and they're not quite getting through, and that's why you get sometimes it doesn't go on the key. You can hear the other relay clicking. So there's a little electrical gremlin just on the starter side. It wouldn't make you to break down, because you could easily just hot wire across there. But yeah, starter motor, very quick. We're very pleased. That's our rebuild done. We're going to move on to something else.